The alien child pressed herself into the shadow of the derelict cargo container, her three-fingered hands trembling as boots thundered past. She couldn't remember her name anymore. Hunger had hollowed out everything but fear. The station corridor stank of metal and desperation. Somewhere above, engines roared as ships docked and departed, carrying people to places that mattered. She'd been left behind 3 cycles ago when her guardian collapsed from the wasting plague. No one stopped, no one helped. The Galactic Union didn't waste resources on orphaned Vellani. Her skin had faded from bright azure to dull gray. The color change meant death was close. Every species knew it. That's why they stepped over her now. She crawled toward the market junction where merchants discarded spoiled protein packs. Her legs barely worked. The station's gravity felt like it was crushing her bones into powder. "Move along, trash!" The kick came from nowhere. She tumbled across the cold floor and hit the wall. A Krathan enforcer stood over her, mandibles clicking with disgust. His armored boot raised again. Then a hand caught his leg. "That's enough." The voice was calm but carried an edge that made the Krathan freeze. She looked up through blurred vision and saw him. Tall, 2 arms, 2 legs, pale skin, brown hair cropped short, human. The entire corridor went silent. "She's dying anyway," the Krathan growled. "Union code permits disposal of terminal indigents." "The Union code permits a lot of things." The human's grip tightened. "Doesn't mean I'm letting you kick a kid." The enforcer jerked free and backed away, one hand moving toward his weapon. But something in the human's eyes made him reconsider. Everyone had heard the stories. Humans didn't follow normal threat assessment patterns. They did insane things for insane reasons. The Krathan spat and walked away. The human knelt beside her. Up close, she could see the scars on his hands and the name patch on his worn jacket. Garrett Flynn, independent freight hauler. "Hey there." His voice softened. "You speak standard?" She managed a weak nod. "Good. I'm going to pick you up now. Don't be scared." When his arms lifted her, she expected pain. Instead, she felt warmth. Real warmth. Her failing body instinctively curled against his chest. He carried her through the station like she weighed nothing. Other aliens backed away. Some whispered. Humans had been in Galactic Union space for only 15 cycles, but their reputation preceded them. Unpredictable. Emotional. Dangerous when provoked. Garrett Flynn ignored them all. She felt consciousness slipping as he entered a docking bay. Through half-closed eyes, she saw a ship. Small. Old. Patched together from parts that shouldn't work together. "Stay with me, kid," he said. "I've got medicine." Food. Everything you need. She wanted to ask why. Why would he help? The Union had taught her that survival meant transaction. Nothing came free. But darkness pulled her under before she could speak. She woke to the hum of engines and the smell of something impossible. Food. Real food. Her eyes opened slowly. The room was small, barely larger than a storage closet, but clean. Soft fabric surrounded her. A bed. She was lying in an actual bed with blankets that held residual warmth. Panic spiked through her chest. This had to be a trap. Nothing in the galaxy was given freely. She'd learned that lesson watching her guardian beg for scraps while wealthy Quarians stepped over them in the market district. The door slid open. Garrett Flynn entered carrying a tray. Steam rose from a bowl, and the scent made her stomach clench with painful hunger. "Easy." He set the tray on a small table beside the bed. "You've been out for 6 hours. Your body's in bad shape, but the medical scanner says you'll recover with proper nutrition and rest." She stared at him, searching for the angle. What did he want? Vellani children were worthless in the labor markets. Too weak, too small. Her species was 3 generations from extinction, casualties of a war the Union had declared economically non-viable to prevent. "I don't have credits," she whispered. Her voice came out like broken glass. "Didn't ask for any." He pulled up a chair and sat down, keeping distance between them. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Names were dangerous. They meant identity. Identity meant records. Records meant deportation to the quarantine worlds, where her species was left to die. "You can tell me or not," Garrett said, "but you're safe here. I'm not turning you over to anyone." The name escaped before she could stop it. Kiva. "Good to meet you." He gestured to the bowl. That's protein broth with mineral supplements. Your body needs it. Drink it slow or you'll get sick." She didn't move. Her eyes tracked every muscle in his face, every shift of his posture. Predators waited. They lulled prey into comfort before striking. Garrett seemed to understand. He stood and walked to the door. "I'll be in the cockpit. Eat when you're ready. Don't eat if you're not. Your choice." The door closed behind him. Kiva sat frozen for 30 seconds. Then hunger overrode caution. She grabbed the bowl with shaking hands and drank. The broth burned her throat, but it was the most incredible thing she'd ever tasted. Actual nutrients, actual sustenance, not the recycled waste product the station merchants threw to beggars. She finished the entire bowl and immediately felt her stomach rebel. She barely made it to the small waste unit before vomiting. When the spasms stopped, she found a clean cloth and water waiting on the counter. He'd anticipated this. Kiva cleaned herself and returned to the bed. Exhaustion hit like a physical weight. As she drifted toward sleep, she heard voices from the cockpit. Garrett was talking to someone over the comm system. "Yeah, I've got the shipment. Delivering to Arcturus Station in 48 hours. A pause. No complications. Clean run." She recognized the cadence. Business. Normal conversation. Nothing about her. Sleep claimed her again, deeper this time. When she woke, another bowl waited on the table. Fresh broth. A piece of actual bread beside it, and a small glass of water with electrolyte additives. This time she ate slowly. Her body accepted the food. Hours blurred together. Garrett checked on her periodically, but never pushed, never demanded, never asked for anything. He brought food, changed the medical patches on her arms that were delivering vitamins directly into her bloodstream, told her where things were if she needed them. On the third day, Kiva finally left the small room. Her legs wobbled but held. She made her way down the narrow corridor toward the cockpit. Garrett sat in the pilot's chair, monitoring displays that showed star charts and cargo manifests. He glanced back when she entered. "Feeling better? Why are you doing this?" The question burst out of her. "What do you want?" He turned the chair to face her fully. His expression was calm, patient. "Nothing. I don't want anything from you. That's impossible. Everyone wants something." "Not everyone." He gestured to the empty co-pilot seat. "Sit if you want. I'll explain." Kiva approached cautiously and climbed into the seat. Through the viewport, stars streaked past in faster-than-light transit. 3 years ago, Garrett began, I was stuck on a mining colony in the outer reach. Equipment failure. No parts. No way to fix my ship. I was looking at weeks stranded in a place where humans weren't exactly welcome. He paused, checking a display before continuing. A Villani engineer named Mira found me in the repair district. She didn't know me, had no reason to help, but she spent 2 days fabricating custom parts and installing them, refused payment. When I asked why, she said someone had helped her once when she needed it most. Said that's how things should work. Kiva felt something tighten in her chest. "Mira's dead now," Garrett said quietly. "The plague took her 8 months ago, but I remember what she did. So when I see someone who needs help, I help. Simple as that." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light transit with a shudder that rattled Kiva's teeth. Through the viewport, Arcturus Station materialized like a massive steel flower, its docking pedals extending into space. "Stay in the back while I handle the delivery," Garrett said. "Station security scans manifest, not crew quarters." "You'll be fine." Kiva nodded and retreated to the small room that had become her sanctuary. She listened to the docking clamps engage with metallic thuds, then the hiss of the airlock connecting. Voices echoed through the hull. Garrett's calm tone. Another voice, gruff and impatient. The sound of cargo containers being moved. 20 minutes passed. The airlock sealed. The voices faded. Garrett appeared in the doorway. "Got paid. Picking up another job in 3 hours." "Where?" Kiva asked. "Outer colonies. Medical supplies to Helion 7. Pays decent. And the route's quiet." He paused. "You can stay aboard as long as you need." "I mean that." Something in Kiva's chest cracked open. Not trust, not yet, but the possibility of it. She'd spent 5 cycles learning that the galaxy was cruel. That survival meant isolation. That caring about anyone led to loss. But Garrett Flynn kept breaking those rules. Over the next week, Kiva learned the ship. The cargo hauler was called the Meridian, 40 years old and held together with modifications that violated at least a dozen safety regulations. Garrett had built most of the custom systems himself. The engine ran on a hybrid drive that combined Terran engineering with Quarian power cores, illegal in Union space, but twice as efficient. Humans are good at making things work that shouldn't, Garrett explained while showing her the engine room. We're new to the galaxy. Don't have the fancy tech everyone else does, so we improvise. Kiva watched him adjust a plasma relay with casual confidence. The Union says humans are reckless. The Union says a lot of things. Garrett's tone hardened. They also said your species wasn't worth saving, that the plague was a natural population correction. You believe that? She didn't answer. She'd heard those words before, spoken by Krathan administrators, by Quarian health officials, by every species that had decided Villani lives didn't matter. Garrett straightened and looked at her directly. Here's what I know. Every species in this galaxy talks about civilization and progress. But when something bad happens, they calculate the cost-benefit ratio. If saving lives doesn't profit them, they walk away. His jaw tightened. Humans don't work like that. We're stubborn. We help because it's right, not because it makes sense. The comm system beeped. Garrett moved to answer it. A woman's face appeared on the screen. Human. Dark skin, sharp eyes. She wore a military-style uniform with no official insignia. Flynn. You're 3 days late to the rendezvous. Got delayed. I'm carrying extra cargo. The woman's eyes narrowed. What kind of cargo? The kind that's none of your business, Commander Reeves. A long pause. Then the woman smiled. You picked up another stray, didn't you? Maybe. You're going to get yourself killed with this hero complex. Probably, but not today. What do you need? Reeves' expression turned serious. Intel says the Krathan Enforcement Guild is running sweeps on independent haulers. They're looking for humans specifically. Something about violations of non-interference protocols. Translation, we've been helping people the Union wants dead. Watch yourself out there. The transmission ended. Garrett stood silent for a moment, then turned to Kiva. You ever hear about the non-interference protocols? She nodded. Union law. Advanced species can't interfere with the natural development of lesser species. Right, except the Union decides who's lesser, and they use that law to justify letting entire populations die. His hands clenched into fists. Humans joined the Union 15 cycles ago. We saw what was happening. The plague, the abandoned colonies, the species being erased because helping them wasn't profitable, and we said no. Kiva's hearts beat faster. She'd heard whispers, stories of human ships appearing in quarantine zones, of medicine delivered to plague worlds, of refugees smuggled to safe colonies. The Union called it terrorism, called humans dangerous radicals who threaten galactic stability. You've been breaking the law, she said. Every chance I get, Garrett's smile held no humor. There's a network, hundreds of human ships. We move supplies, rescue survivors, get people to safe places. The Union can't stop us all. They'll kill you if they catch you. They can try. The conviction in his voice was absolute. Kiva had never heard anything like it. In the Union, survival meant compliance, obedience, accepting your place in the hierarchy. But humans seemed incapable of accepting anything. Why risk it, she asked. You could stay safe. Follow the rules. Garrett knelt so they were eye level. Because when I was a kid, I read about people on Earth who risked everything to save strangers during wars and disasters. They didn't do it for profit. They did it because standing by while people suffered was worse than death. That's humanity. We're not smarter than other species. We're not stronger. But we care, even when caring costs us everything. The attack came without warning. Kiva was in the cargo bay, organizing medical supplies when the ship lurched violently to port. Containers crashed against the walls. Alarms screamed through every corridor. She grabbed a support beam as the artificial gravity flickered. Kiva! Get to the cockpit now! Garrett's voice cut through the chaos over the intercom. She ran. The corridor tilted as the Meridian executed emergency maneuvers. Through a viewport, she saw them. 3 Krathan patrol ships, sleek and predatory, closing fast. Energy weapons charged with blue light along their hulls. She stumbled into the cockpit. Garrett's hands moved across the controls with impossible speed. routing power from non-essential systems to the engines and shields. Strap in. His voice was steel. This is going to get rough. Kiva threw herself into the co-pilot seat and engaged the harness. The first weapon's burst hit their aft shields. The ship shook. Warning lights flooded the console. Shields at 60%, Garrett announced. They're not trying to disable us. They're going for a kill. Why? Kiva's voice came out high and terrified. Because we're human, that's reason enough. Another impact. The shields dropped to 40%. The Krathan ships moved with coordinated precision, boxing the Meridian into a kill zone. There was nowhere to run. Garrett's jaw clenched. His fingers flew across the controls, activating systems Kiva didn't recognize. Hold on to something solid. The Meridian dove straight down relative to the galactic plane, then rolled hard to starboard. The maneuver would have killed anyone without inertial dampeners. Even with them, Kiva felt her vision gray at the edges. One Krathan ship overshot. Garrett didn't hesitate. He reverse thrust and fired the Meridian's single defensive cannon. The blast caught the patrol ship's engine housing. It exploded in a brilliant flash. 2 left, Garrett muttered. Not good odds. The remaining ships adjusted, coming at them from different vectors. Crossfire formation. No escape. Kiva watched the tactical display with growing horror. They were going to die. After everything, after being saved and shown kindness, it would end in the vacuum of space. Then the comm system crackled to life. Meridian, this is the Valkyrie. Hold your position? Garrett's eyes widened. Reeves? Who else? The commander's voice carried dark satisfaction. We picked up your distress beacon. Hang tight. A massive ship dropped out of faster-than-light transit directly above them. The Valkyrie was 3 times the Meridian's size, bristling with weapons that belonged on a military destroyer. Its hull bore scorch marks and patched armor. Battle scars. The Krathan ships broke formation, trying to scatter. They didn't make it. The Valkyrie's railguns opened fire. Solid projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds tore through shields like tissue paper. One Krathan ship simply ceased to exist. The other managed to angle its shields before the second volley hit, but the impact sent it spinning out of control. Silence fell across the comm. Meridian, you're clear, Reeves said. Follow us to safe coordinates. We need to talk. Garrett exhaled slowly. His hands were shaking. Copy that, Valkyrie. And thanks. Thank me by being more careful. Reeves out. The Valkyrie's engines flared as it changed course. Garrett matched its trajectory, keeping the Meridian tight in its sensor shadow. Kiva's hearts were still racing. What is that ship? Part of the network I mentioned. Garrett wiped sweat from his forehead. Commander Reeves leads one of the larger cells, former Earth military. She didn't like the Union's rules any more than the rest of us. There are more like her? Dozens. Maybe hundreds by now. Humans who decided that Galactic Union law doesn't override basic decency. 2 hours later, both ships docked at coordinates in deep space, far from established trade routes. The Valkyrie's airlock connected to the Meridian. Commander Reeves entered with 3 crew members, all human, all carrying weapons with casual familiarity. Reeves studied Kiva with sharp eyes. Villani, how many are left? Less than 10,000, Kiva whispered. Scattered across quarantine worlds. Not for long. Reeves turned to Garrett. We're accelerating the timeline. There's a convoy forming at Nexus Point. 30 ships. We're hitting the quarantine zone simultaneously and extracting every survivor we can find. Garrett straightened. That's insane. The Union will mobilize their entire fleet. Let them. Reeves' smile was predatory. Humans have been in this galaxy for 15 cycles. We've been patient. We've been careful. But patience has limits. The Union thinks we're weak because we're new. Time to show them what humanity really means. One of her crew members activated a holographic display. Star charts appeared, showing multiple systems marked in red. Quarantine zones. Death sentences disguised as public health policy. Each ship takes a target, Reeves continued. Extract survivors. Rendezvous at the frontier colonies beyond Union jurisdiction. We've already negotiated sanctuary with the independent worlds. The casualties will be massive, Garrett said quietly. The Union won't let us just take people. No, they won't. Reeves met his eyes. Which is why we're not asking permission anymore. We tried diplomacy. We tried working within their system. They responded by declaring us terrorists and putting bounties on our heads. So now we do it our way. Kiva found her voice. You're starting a war. No. Reeves looked at her with something like sadness. We're ending one. The Union has been waging war against vulnerable species for centuries. Calling it policy doesn't change what it is. We're just the first ones willing to fight back. The words hung in the air. Kiva thought about her guardian dying on a station floor while aliens stepped over her, about the children she'd seen waste away in the quarantine sections, about the Villani colonies that had simply gone silent as the plague spread and no help came. When do we leave? Garrett asked. 48 hours. Get your ship ready. This is going to be the most dangerous thing any of us have ever done. Reeves paused. And Flynn, if you've got cold feet, now's the time to walk away. No judgment. Garrett looked at Kiva, then back at Reeves. I'm in. The Nexus point burned with the light of 30 human ships. Kiva stood in the Meridian's cockpit watching vessels of every size and configuration gather in formation. Cargo haulers like Garrett's. Modified passenger transports. A few genuine warships that had somehow escaped Earth's military decommission programs. Each one carried the same defiant energy. Each one crewed by humans who had decided that following orders mattered less than doing what was right. Never thought I'd see this many of us in one place, Garrett murmured. He'd been prepping the ship for 72 hours straight. His eyes were bloodshot, but his hands remained steady on the controls. The comm system activated. Reeves' voice filled the cockpit, broadcast across all 30 ships. This is Valkyrie Actual. Final status check before we jump. Every captain confirms their target coordinates. One by one, voices responded. Humans with accents from every continent on Earth. Some young, some old, all volunteers. Meridian confirming, Garrett said when his turn came. Target is Villani Quarantine World-Designated Refuge 7. Population estimated at 400 survivors. Kiva's breath caught. Refuge 7. She'd heard the name whispered in the station markets. One of the last holdouts, where Villani families had fled when the plague hit the core worlds. Confirmed, Meridian. You'll have support from the Nightingale and the Defiant. Extraction window is 6 hours maximum. After that, Union response forces will arrive in overwhelming numbers. Reeves paused. I'm not going to lie to anyone. Some of us won't make it back. The Union knows we're coming. They've had tracking us for weeks. This is their line in the sand. Silence across the comm channels. Then a voice Kiva didn't recognize spoke up. Ma'am, respectfully, they should have drawn that line somewhere else. We're humanity. We don't stop. Laughter rippled through the channel. Dark, determined, the sound of people who had already made peace with the consequences. Then let's get to work, Reeves said. All ships jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute. Space tore open in 30 places simultaneously. The ships vanished into faster-than-light transit, scattering across the galaxy like seeds on the wind. The Meridian emerged 6 hours later at the coordinates for Refuge 7. The planet hung before them, brown and scarred. Atmospheric processors had failed decades ago. The surface was barely habitable. Picking up life signs, Garrett said, scanning the data. Concentrated in the southern hemisphere. Looks like they're underground. 2 more ships appeared in flashes of distorted light. The Nightingale, a medical transport twice the Meridian's size. The Defiant, a compact combat vessel with illegal weapons pods grafted to its hull. Nightingale here? We're reading massive structural instability in the settlements. These people are living in collapsed mining tunnels. Then we work fast. Garrett pushed the Meridian into atmospheric entry. The hull heated to orange as they descended through thin air. Kiva pressed her face to the viewport. Below, she could see the surface. Jagged rocks. Dust storms. And there, barely visible, the entrance to an underground complex marked by dying emergency lights. The Meridian set down 50 meters from the entrance. Garrett was already moving, grabbing supply packs and medical kits. Kiva, you're with me. You speak the language. They'll trust you faster than they'll trust another human. They ran across the wasteland. The Nightingale landed nearby, its ramp already deploying. Medical personnel poured out, human doctors and nurses carrying equipment that looked expensive and well-maintained. The entrance tunnel descended into darkness. Garrett activated a light stick. The pale glow revealed walls covered in Vellani script, prayers, messages, names of the dead. They found them 100 meters down. Families huddled in chambers carved from raw stone, children with skin faded to nearly white, adults who looked like living skeletons. The air stank of sickness and despair. A female Vellani stepped forward, positioning herself between the humans and the others, protective, defiant despite her obvious weakness. "We have no resources to steal," she said in broken standard. "Leave us to die in peace." "We're not here to steal." Kiva moved past Garrett, into the light where she could be seen clearly. "I'm Vellani, like you. These humans saved me. Now they're here to save all of you." The woman's eyes widened. "That's impossible." "The Union forbids interference. The Union can go to hell," Garrett said flatly. "We've got ships, medicine, food, safe colonies that will take you in. But we have 6 hours before Union forces arrive. So you can trust us and live, or stay here and die. Your choice." For a long moment, no one moved. Then a child broke from the group and ran to Kiva, small, fragile, barely alive. "Please," the child whispered. "I don't want to die here." That broke the paralysis. The Vellani surged forward, not with aggression, but with desperate hope. Garrett coordinated with the Nightingale crew. Triage teams assessed the worst cases. Others began moving survivors up the tunnel toward the ships. Kiva carried children who couldn't walk. She held the hands of elders who wept with disbelief. She translated between Vellani and humans, watching 2 species that should have been strangers work together with perfect synchronization. 4 hours in, the first warning came. "All ships, this is Valkyrie. Union fleet detected at multiple target sites. Engagement imminent. Finish your extractions and jump immediately." Garrett checked his count. 372 survivors aboard the 3 ships, 28 still in the tunnels. "We're not leaving anyone," he said into his comm. "Garrett, we're out of time," the Nightingale's captain responded. "Union destroyers just entered the system. They'll be in weapons range in 15 minutes. Then we've got 15 minutes. Kiva ran back into the tunnels with a medical team. They found the last survivors in the deepest chamber, too sick to move on their own, too weak to survive transport without immediate treatment. The humans didn't hesitate. They rigged emergency stretchers, administered stimulants that would buy precious minutes, carried people who weighed almost nothing through the darkness. 10 minutes left. They broke into sunlight. The ships waited with engines hot. In orbit above, energy signatures flared. The Union fleet had arrived. "Move, move, move," Garrett shouted. The last survivor cleared the Meridian's ramp. The airlock sealed. Garrett was already in the cockpit, hands flying across the controls. The first weapons blast hit the ground where they'd been standing seconds before. The Defiant returned fire, its illegal railguns punching holes in Union shields. "Jump coordinates locked," Garrett said. "Kiva, hit the emergency release on those cargo straps. We're about to pull some serious acceleration." She barely managed it before the Meridian's engines screamed to life. They lifted off vertically, pushing maximum thrust. The G-forces crushed Kiva into her seat. Through the viewport, she saw the Nightingale and Defiant following. Above them, 3 Union destroyers descended like metallic gods. "Jump in 10 seconds, Garrett counted. 9. 8. A weapons blast caught the Defiant's port side. The ship tumbled, trailing atmosphere. "Defiant is hit!" someone screamed over the comm. 4, 3. The Defiant's engines reignited. Somehow, impossibly, it stabilized. 1 jump. Reality twisted. The universe folded. And 30 human ships carrying thousands of survivors vanished into the dark. The frontier colonies appeared like a promise kept. Kiva watched through the viewport as the Meridian approached the massive space station that humans had built beyond Union jurisdiction. It was ugly, asymmetrical, constructed from salvaged parts and desperate ingenuity. But lights blazed in every window, and dozens of ships moved in organized patterns around the docking arms. "Welcome to Foundation," Garrett said quietly. Humanity's middle finger to the Galactic Union. Around them, the other ships from the convoy emerged from faster-than-light transit, not all 30. The Defiant had made it, barely, trailing debris and limping on auxiliary power, but 5 others hadn't returned. 5 crews who had known the cost and paid it anyway. We've felt the weight of those losses. 5 ships, perhaps 30 humans, dead because they chose to save people they'd never met. The comm crackled. All vessels, this is Foundation Control. Medical teams are standing by. Bring your survivors home. Home. The word resonated in Kiva's chest. She'd never had one, not really. The station where Garrett found her had been a prison. The quarantine worlds were mass graves. But this place, built by humans who refused to accept the galaxy's cruelty, felt different. The Meridian docked smoothly despite Garrett's exhaustion. The airlock opened to reveal a massive receiving bay filled with people, human doctors, Velani, who had been rescued in earlier operations, other species Kiva didn't recognize, all wearing expressions of desperate relief. The survivors from Refuge 7 emerged slowly, blinking in the bright lights. Medical teams moved among them with practiced efficiency. No one was turned away. No one was deemed too expensive to save. Kiva helped a Velani elder down the ramp. The woman's skin had already begun regaining color from the medicine administered during the flight. She stared at everything with wide eyes. "Is this real?" she whispered. "Yes," Kiva said. "It's real." Commander Reeves appeared through the crowd. Her uniform was scorched and her left arm hung in a sling, but she was alive. She found Garrett and clasped his shoulder. 4,216, she said. "That's how many we saved today, across all 30 targets." Garrett's expression didn't change. "And how many did we lose?" 47 humans. 18 ships damaged beyond immediate repair. 5 ships destroyed. Riva's voice hardened. "And the Union has declared us enemies of galactic civilization. Every human in their territory has 48 hours to evacuate or face arrest." "Then we get them out," Garrett said simply. "We will." Reeves looked past him to where Kiva stood. "The Velani aren't the only species we're extracting. There are others, dozens of populations the Union left to die. This is just the beginning." Over the following days, Kiva watched Foundation transform. More ships arrived hourly, carrying humans fleeing Union space. They brought tools, supplies, determination. The station expanded in real time as construction crews worked around the clock. She also watched the survivors heal. Children laughed for the first time in cycles. Families reunited. The Velani population aboard Foundation grew from hundreds to thousands as word spread and more rescue operations succeeded. But she also saw the cost. Memorial services for fallen humans. Quiet moments when Garrett stared at nothing, remembering friends who hadn't made it back. The weight of what they'd started settling on everyone's shoulders. 1 week after the rescue, Kiva found Garrett in the Meridian's cargo bay. He was repairing damage from their escape, working with methodical focus. "The Union is calling this an act of war," she said. "I know." He didn't look up from the damaged panel. "They're mobilizing fleets, imposing sanctions on any world that harbors humans. They're saying your species is a threat to galactic stability. They're probably right." Garrett set down his tools and finally met her eyes. "We are a threat. To their stability. To their convenient system where some lives matter and others don't. We're a threat to every government that thinks cost-benefit analysis should determine who deserves to live." Kiva moved closer. "What happens now?" "Now." Garrett smiled, and it held no humor. "Now we do it again, and again, until every species the Union abandoned is safe. Until the galaxy understands that humanity doesn't negotiate on basic decency. You'll be fighting forever." "Maybe, but we're good at that too." He stood and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now, Kiva. You and your people. Whatever comes next, you're not alone anymore." She thought about the child she'd been, pressed into shadows on a dying station, about the woman she was becoming, surrounded by humans who rewrote the rules through sheer stubborn refusal to accept injustice. "I want to help," she said. Garrett raised an eyebrow. "Help how, however I can. There are more survivors out there. More species dying because the Union won't act. You saved me. Let me help save others." For a long moment, Garrett studied her. Then he nodded. "We'll need translators. People who understand what it's like to be abandoned, if you're sure." "I'm sure." Outside the Meridian, Foundation continued growing. Human ingenuity turning scraps into civilization. Ships departed on new rescue missions while others returned with refugees. The Galactic Union watched from a distance, calculating responses, preparing countermeasures. But in the cargo bay of one battered freighter, a Volani child who had been left to die stood beside a human who had refused to let that happen. And together, they planned the next impossible rescue, because that's what humanity did. They looked at the galaxy's cruelty and said no. They saw people suffering and couldn't walk away. They broke every rule that claimed some lives were worth less than others. And they never, ever stopped. Kiva gazed out at the stars beyond Foundation's viewports. Somewhere out there, others waited in darkness. Others who had given up hope, others who believed the galaxy had forgotten them. She smiled. They were about to discover they were wrong.